Nicholas Angel is like, I think the most. I was trying to think of the closest thing. He's like a cross between Mr. Spock and the T-1000 and Dirty Harry, and he's like a kind of. It's one of the hardest parts I've ever had to play because he does very little. He's quite straight-faced, and I didn't have to mug or employ any kind of usual comedy devices. It was a case of being very still with him and not really doing much. Nick was goofing about, and I had to be. Everything was just a bit like to me. Everything was just slightly. I was confused at why people were messing around all the time, and he's a straight shooter, and but he's also very closed off as well, and I had to play him as being someone who even though he's very open-minded, he's very also set in his ways, paradoxically, and he gradually opens up, and it's Danny that kind of does that. So that was fun playing him, becoming more and more sort of human, as it were. But he starts off, he's like an android. He is like the T-1000. That's why I was running like that. Because that's the T-1000 run. That's what I based it on. The most fun was diving through the air and firing two guns at once. Or actually chasing Tim and Jim in the police car, firing out the window, was just brilliant fun. That was just like, we did that. We must have fired off 1,000 rounds that day. And it was just like hurling through Hatfield House grounds, just firing a really loud blank firing pistol, and having James Bond fire back at me. It was just like, it didn't escape me at all that I was, in all the times I was fighting Tim, that I was actually scrapping with Bond and winning as well. So to be leaning out of a speeding police car and seeing Timothy Dalton firing a big handgun back at me was, I can't even tell you how much fun that was. And the great thing was as well that Tim, who's a very respected, experienced actor, and who has been in 2 James Bond films, and came out at the end of that and said, "Oh, that was the most fun I've ever had." And I was like, yes! 2 Bond films, and it's Hot Fuzz that gives him the biggest thrill, which is, result. I love working with Edgar because, we don't have to communicate that much to know what we're both thinking, Not that I don't like communicating with him, but things get done quite quickly. And it was great. And he's also matured a lot as well. He never fails to amaze me in terms of his technical knowledge is really growing and growing. He understands, so much more about what every lens means, what every piece of equipment means. Not that he wasn't on Shaun of the Dead, but he was learning, and everything he's learned is put into play in this film. I've never seen so many different camera rigs. The rickshaw, the Segway, obviously the Steadicam, but then the Steadicam on a Segway, and the overhead hanging cam, and he's employing all of these, like just willy-nilly, but also with great accuracy and effect, and he always impresses me. I just want people to obviously have a good time and have a lot of fun with it, but I want people to be whooping, and cheering and feeling for all the characters and getting involved with it, and enjoying the kind of Miss Marple, Agatha Christie side to it, as well as the John Woo, all guns blazing side. In the same way that Shaun of the Dead was like a date film and there was something for everyone in it, I would like Hot Fuzz to be the same thing. I just want everyone to get a real kick out of it and enjoy it as much as we did making it, because we enjoyed it a hell of a lot.